Howler there, but what's going on, people? Welcome to Live Palace News. We are back. It is Wednesday, the 24th of July. And as you can see from the title, positive and negative news today. Ismaila Sarr, another update on him. What's the latest after we spoke about personal terms being agreed yesterday? Nusa, we'll be talking about him. It has gone a bit quiet. There was an update the other day with the latest on him. However, there's another update today regarding Nusa. And finally, a youngster has left. It's not Raksaki, David Ozoh, who has gone out on loan. As always, answering your questions, but most importantly, get involved in the chat, in the live comment section, and in the comment section down below. Leave a like if you do enjoy the stream. It helps us out a lot. We are very, very close to 5,000 now, reaching about 100 subs mark. Not far off. So thanks to every single one of you that's done that already. How's everyone's day going? Let's see. Michael saying, see Mateta getting linked away today. Seems like more players are going, they're coming. I'll be honest, we're not talking about Mateta today. Those links, I literally saw your comment, then I thought I'll have a check. It's nothing serious about Mateta. People saying we badly need some positive news before the weekend. It's not all doom and gloom. What's going on for us as well? What's going on to every single one of you that's joining the chat as we are just gone live right now. All right, let's get started with the first bit of news whilst people are coming in. And let's start off with Nusa. As you can see from the title, a deal is looking unlikely, and that is according to Bobby Manzi. He understands that Antonio Nusa to Palace is not likely to happen. The club are closing on a deal with Marseille for Ismaila Sarr with personal terms agreed. And we're currently in that situation. Nusa, which at some point was considered the top target, is now unlikely. And the other day we spoke about it as well, with Nusa being, not the best of situation with his injury concerns. I actually gave my opinion thinking what's changed between when we were first interested to now, because he failed his medical at Brentford, and then afterwards, he was still our number one priority. And then now, it doesn't surprise me at all because it's all gone quiet. But now he's out the radar. So who's next? Because we're going to be talking about Ismaila Sarr as well. But if Nusa, who was reportedly going to come to Palace in a decent fee around 25 million mark, that could bring in Antonio Nusa to Palace. If that isn't going to happen, how many players are left? Philogene is gone. Nusa is gone. I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom, but in terms of the players that we've been linked with so far, slowly, one by one, they're all going. Reece Nelson seems like he's going to Leicester, even though he hasn't been linked as heavily. Who really is left? As a Elise replacement? And is that Elise replacement already at that football club with Daichi Kamada? Have we already signed that replacement? Look, when we're talking about, the whole dynamics, especially with when we move on to Ismaila Sarr, and talking about Mateta, he's actually starting today for the French Olympic squad in their under-23s game against, I believe it is against USA. So a bit of friendly fire there for those of you over on the stateside. Mateta might be scoring against you, so he might not be celebrating his goals tonight, but he's actually starting tonight. I don't know if Elise is. Elise must be starting as well, but he's not a Crystal Palace player anymore, so it's not as significant. Let's see what the chat is saying. What's going on with Smith Rowe? People talk about Smith Rowe. We'll talk about Smith Rowe. Don't worry about that. The Roma article said 20 million euros for Mateta. Exactly. So, I mean, there's loads of articles when you look at it like that, but I would not be concerned with that. And it's just come out from Roma as well. But look, Nusa is not likely. And we'll combine these all together, because I think that the Sarr rumours and also the Nusa ones, they link well together. And let's move on to Sarr. There is another update today from Graham Bailey, who is saying that personal terms are agreed, which we already know about yesterday. But it's the actual bid. Reportedly around 14 million euros, which is equivalent to 12 million pounds, is the fee that Palace were after for Ismaila Sarr. But apparently, according to Graham Bailey, Marseille are ready to accept the deal for around 12 million pounds. Now, I don't know how true this is. I guess only time will tell. We saw yesterday that we did put in a bid. Could this be accepted? that bid that we put in around 14 million euros plus 1 million in add-ons, around 12 million pounds. Graham Bailey saying that it's likely. I'll be honest with the Sarr situation. If we don't sign Sarr at this point, then I'll start getting worried about a few things. I mean, as I said, we're approaching the end of the month. Personal terms agreed. The fee isn't quite high. So I think Sarr would be completed. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this week, we do have that positive news with Sarr right before we go on to the USA tour. I think Crawley will be a bit too early for him, but I do want him to join the team when we're going on that American tour. So fingers crossed, according to Graham Bailey, that fee has been agreed. The actual, bid for Sarr has been agreed on top of the personal terms, but no one else has said that yet. No one else has said that yet. The latest that we saw yesterday was that we put in a bid, and that was the situation in terms of whether it's been agreed or not. Hippie saying, I hope I'm wrong, but Sarr doesn't excite me. Fraz saying, I think it will be accepted. I think it will be accepted. If it doesn't get accepted, I think we'll come to an agreement sooner rather than later. Hopefully this deal is concluded this week. Look, we're not at the start of July. Let's just bring him in. The fee is already low, so hopefully we can find an agreement there. Warren saying, guessing Leicester going for Nelson might mean they pull out with Sule, though. Good point. Then again, look, I'll just stop there. I don't think it really makes a difference about Leicester going for Sule or not, because I don't think we value him at the price tag that Juventus want. And Nusa as well. I don't know what's changed. I don't know the feelings around the club in terms of some of these players that we were linked with, and now we're not really as interested. And this is where the whole situation comes in with the right-hand side of the pitch, especially as a number 10 role. So we spoke about it yesterday with Ismaila Sarr. Where would he actually fit in? But if we're not getting a Nusa, and Philogene of course gone, Sule's out there, he's not likely. Who really is left? The only player that I can think about is Emil Smith-Rowe, because we cannot, I say this again, hopefully we don't, and I don't think we will, but we cannot stop with Sarr in terms of the attacking options. We need someone else behind Kamada. Now, where does Sarr fit in? There is this debate. Some people say a wing back. Some people say he's versatile. He can play up front. He can play as a number 10 as well. But for me, I want a proper number 10 behind Kamada. Sarr is a positive signing. In fact, I think Sarr is an IU replacement rather than an Elise one. To put Sarr and Elise as a replacement in the same sentence is absolutely crazy to me at this current moment of time. Maybe it proves us all wrong, but that's crazy. And I don't think you can really replace Elise, but you want a younger player with a higher potential than Sarr currently has. But who is that player going to be? There is that question now, with Nusa kind of out the window. For me, I think it's still Smith-Rowe, but Smith-Rowe is not concluded. It's not a concluded deal based on the games that Arsenal are playing. And it seems like they want to keep him and they don't want to keep him. Smith-Rowe wants to stay. So I'm a bit confused. I'm a bit confused about who is going to be that second attacking option that we actually sign. It might be Edwards, because someone actually said this to me as well when I tweeted out earlier. It might be Edwards. And if we do get Edwards, in terms of the actual net spend this window, it could basically mean we spend around £5 million at most this whole summer window whilst bringing in all of these players, which would be excellent business. But I guess Smith-Rowe and Edwards is left in equation. But even with Edwards, we haven't heard anything about him. Maybe after the Sarr news, we get to know a bit more about what's our next steps. Maybe our focus is on Sarr right now, which I understand because, that deal seems like it's getting closer by the day. But we do need to sign someone else as well. Kyle saying agree on Edwards seems to be where the value is. Gabriel saying Sarr and Smith-Rowe are the Elise replacements, and I'm happy with that. With that, and Sessegnon and maybe another depth player in midfield defender, then we're sorted. Europe inbounds. I wouldn't say Sarr and Smith-Rowe are the Elise replacements. I mean, we forget about Kamada. I think Kamada is included there. I think Kamada +1. And that's why I'm a bit confused about Sarr's position, because I do want another one behind Kamada. But what does this mean for Sarr? Like, where is he really going to play? I think he's an IU replacement, in all honesty, but I guess time will tell. Send in your questions, by the way. I am pinning them and we will answer them towards the end of the show. Don't worry about that. I'll go in for Sule. No, we're not. I mean, we kind of established this probably a few weeks ago now that Palace are not willing to pay what Juventus want for him. So I mean, that's just died down completely, and that's where we are. Smith Rowe worries me playing as the right 10. Just seems like it's an Eze replacement for this someone next. Why would he worry you, Rexy? I mean, if you look at the goals that he scored, and if you look at the player that there is there, he's both footed. He can use his left foot. So for me, it doesn't worry me as much. Look, there's a lot of things to worry about with Smith Rowe, but playing as a right 10, that's not my biggest worry. I think he can do a job there. My biggest worry, if he was going to ask me about my worry for Smith Rowe, it would be around his injury concerns and the fee involved, which we've debated on here quite a few times. And some people, not some, I think majority of you, based on the comments anyways, are not fans of Emil Smith Rowe, which I understand, of course, for the reasons that you have. But for me, it's not really about the position. But let's see. Well, let's see actually what happens with those. As mentioned at the start of the stream, as you probably do know, unless you haven't been on your phone all day, outgoing has actually been completed for one of the youngsters, who, of course, is a first-team player, David Ozoh. He has joined Derby County on a season-long loan move. This was on the hands for the past week or so. It has now been officially announced. He has gone over to Derby. Wish him the best of luck over there. I think for me, I went on the Rams review podcast, so make sure to check that out to give my perspective and my opinions on Ozoh going out on loan for their channel. But look, for me, the standards for Ozoh is very high. Next year, Ozoh needs to be killing it in the championship. Like he should go in the championship and he should make it his playground. Like it should be normal for him. He shouldn't. Maybe at the start he might struggle to adapt to his environment. It's a new environment. Maybe he might have one or two hurdles along the way. But for me, Ozoh is a good enough player in the championship. I mean, we rate him to pretty much play in the Premier League. So I think championship is not an easy league by any means. But I'm expecting him to go to the championship, have a very good season, develop there. I think it's a very good move for him to move to Derby. It'll be a nice challenge there. I think they're signing a few other players in that position as well. They're trying to be as competitive as possible. I think with the experience, there's no real negatives in this move. I am expecting him, as I said, to come back to us next season. And I was asked this by the Derby fan when I was doing the actual, my perspective, my review of the deal from a Palace perspective. And he asked me, how would you feel if, it's in a year's time, Will Hughes came back to Derby and David Ozoh went back to Palace to kind of swap places? I'm not totally against that. That could potentially be on the cards. I mean, Will Hughes is not the youngest, but I think Ozoh should have a Palace career. I'll be surprised if he doesn't. But fingers crossed that he actually has a positive loan move and everything works out. But I think it is a very good move for him. BR saying looks like IU is off. Off where? I mean, by Sarr coming to the club, I think there is that potential for IU to leave. And some people have actually suggested this as well. But where is Jordan IU moving to? I don't know, because there actually hasn't been any reports of him. There has been reports of Odsonne Edouard and IU being up for sale. But in terms of which clubs are interested, I have no clue. And I think it does make sense for IU to actually leave the club. It does. And I think it's a brave move from the football club. It's a move that some may argue that we could have made a few seasons ago. He's signed a 33. I think he's a very underrated player in terms of what he can offer. But in terms of what we want, we know that he can't deliver that kind of production quality. And age isn't really on his side as well. Look, if he was to join a side that is trying to stay up, I think he's a fantastic player. I think he can still play in the Premier League. But for us, I feel like we're kind of outgrowing Jordan IU, and it's normal. It's natural. You can make the debate. Some people are already saying, why are we getting rid of Jordan IU if Jeffrey Schlupp's still at the football club? They'll rather have IU over Schlupp. But I think that's two different positions. But for me, it would be nice to move on IU, but it's not something where I'll be celebrating it. Maybe over the year, maybe I've become a bit more of a, not fan, but a bit more understanding of his importance to us, even when times were hard. I think IU's come in and performed at a very good level. And before, I was always on a wavelength of, why are we renewing his contract? Like, why is he? It just always felt like the cheaper option. And maybe I understand that perspective from the club now, renewing him and making sure, he has the ability to contribute to the club, and I think he has over the years. But now is probably a good time to move on for Jordan Ayew as well. Let's see. David Ozoh, thoughts. David Ozoh is going to be a beast. You look at him now, imagine in 2 to 3 years, he's going to be like Patrick Vieira. That's a very good claim, but I don't know if he would reach Vieira status. But I mean, yeah, I said it as well to the Derby fan on their channel, Rams Review. Make sure to check that out. He's physically built for the championship. He's physically built for first team football. He just only turned 19 and he looks ready. He looks ready for that, and we've seen that as well. What about a 25 million euro Saudi link? Yeah, that Saudi link was from Palace fans is trolling. That's not real. If that was real, oh my days! Imagine getting that much. But I think there must be a bit of value for Jordan Ayew. We spoke about it before, around £5 million. Some people were saying in the past. I mean, if we can get 5 to 10 around that figure, that would be very good. But it all depends on the interest from other clubs. And I think if I was a Premier League football club that just got promoted, or a Premier League football club that's trying to stay up and trying to adjust to life in the Premier League, I'll get Jordan Ayew. I think Jordan Ayew is a very good player to have in your books. Palace 4039 saying rather Schlupp goes over Ayew. Kyle saying agreeing on valuing Ayew much more than Schlupp. So does any club that's going to write a check as well. And maybe that is why we're looking to sell Jordan Ayew. And Sarr comes in and replaces him, because he's more realistic at this current moment of time. I don't know how many football clubs will be interested in getting Jeffrey Schlupp over Jordan Ayew. So maybe that could be the move that we're making, especially with Sarr. But I think it will all work out in the end. Gaurav saying Ayew should stay, which I understand why you'd want to keep him. But if he doesn't leave now, he's going to eventually leave for free. So it's up to the club in terms of how much they value him. But with Sarr coming in, I don't really understand Ayew staying. I don't. I think now is the perfect time to move on from Ayew. If he wasn't, then yeah, fair enough for depth. But now it's just pointless of keeping him at the football club. For us saying if Ayew is happy to be back up, then I'd be happy for him to stay. But at 33, doesn't want to finish his career on the bench. Very good question. Very good question. Mitch saying Schlupp gets no respect. Maybe one day we might be talking about Schlupp on the same level. But for me, I think, from me anyways, it's my opinion, but I think Schlupp gets as much respect as he deserves. I don't know. I mean, I guess he comes on and he contributes well. I mean, the Fulham goal last season got us a point and let the unbeaten streak continue. If it wasn't for that goal, then right now that streak would have been ended. But for me, I think Schlupp is, Ayew has been a better footballer than Jeffrey Schlupp. I think Ayew has been one of the most underrated signings based on value as well since we got promoted to the Premier League. Let's go through some questions, people. If you're just joining us now, go to the start of the stream where we talk about the latest with Nusa, Sarr, and also David Ozoh. There isn't anything other significant today, but those 3 players are quite significant in itself anyway. So how many more news do you want? Let's go through some of the questions. If you're enjoying this, hit the like button, please. If you are, of course, takes a second of your time. And subscribe if you haven't already done so to not miss out on future Palace content. And also keep sending in your questions and your statements as well. I'm going to go through a few more comments. Schlupp has been a good servant to the club. Yeah, I think he has been a good servant to the club. Steve saying Smith Rowe is far too expensive. Arsenal's valuations for all the fringe players are crazy. The thing with Arsenal, what Arsenal fans are trying to do now is they've said that they've been not good at selling some of these players. So I think they're trying to change that whole narrative, but they have to also be realistic. I guess if Palace do end up paying that 35 to 40 million pounds for Emile Smith Rowe, then yeah, that is good business for Arsenal. But now it seems like the valuation for players is a bit higher than normal. It's gone from maybe being a bit too fair to being bit too much, rather than finding the balance in the middle. That's the thing. I don't know if for me, the valuation doesn't really suggest that they want to sell him. Also, Arteta's apparently wants to keep Emile Smith Rowe at the football club. That needs to get solved. That needs to get solved sooner rather than later. But if it ain't Smith Rowe, chat, who is it going to be? Edwards? Is that the only player left now in terms of finding that attacking option? And I'm sure that the club must have other names on their shortlist that we don't know about. But in terms of the players that we've heard about all summer, we kind of run out. We're running out of run out of the names. I think Sule, Nusa, Philogene. If it ain't Smith Rowe, then Edwards is the only one that's left off the top of my head. I can't think of any other player right now. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what actually happens with that. I mean, there's been names as unfortunate saying, but these names have been us creating them rather than there being solid links. So I mean, out of the solid links, there isn't that many players left, and I don't know if Palace would want any of those players. Before we go into the questions, yes, significant Francois sighting. He was sighted today in training, which is positive. And I think Francois under Oliver Glasner is going to be one of those players. Hopefully, fingers crossed. This is my thoughts about Francois. I think Francois is going to be an exciting player to watch last year. Last year, it was, and when you look at it from his perspective, it was a nightmare for him. First of all, he came to another country at a very young age, not just another country. He came over from South America to Europe. You know, his family's, of course, over in South America, new environment, new language to adapt to. And he started off with an injury. So he came in and started off with an injury. And then on top of that, we had, limited minutes. And then on top of that, we had Roy's negative comments, not only to Francois, to, other youngsters as well, which of course he apologized afterwards. But it just felt like everything was against him last year. It just didn't work out for him. Injuries, minutes, manager treatment, it just didn't go in his favor. So towards the end of the season, when there were talks about maybe Francois making an appearance or so, and he might be coming back from injury, I actually didn't want him to play because I just felt like it would be better off just writing the season as a write-off, last season anyways, and then starting fresh for this upcoming season. And fingers crossed that does happen. If someone's going to get the best out of Francois, I believe that we've got the right man at the job in terms of Oliver Glasner doing that job. And hopefully surprises us. Just like other players have surprised us under Oliver Glasner. And I'm not just saying hopefully, I think he will. I'm putting it out there. I think he will. I have high expectations from Francois. Let's not forget, it might sound crazy, but this is a player that joined Palace with a Ballon d'Or clause in his contract. That's how much highly he was rated coming to Palace. And not only was he linked to Palace, he was linked to the likes of Newcastle, Chelsea, and other football clubs. He was on the radar of a lot of football clubs. So one season of his struggles, which I've listed for various different reasons, doesn't make me write off Francois. And it was good seeing him in the photos today. I don't want him to rush back. I don't know what's actually happened from his last injury. Is he still in rehab? Is he not? He was, of course, not playing against Charlton. We'll see what happens on this weekend against Crawley. So will he play or not? But I do have expectations for him because, one, the price tag is there. The price tag is not cheap at all for Palace anyways, for a player that hasn't had that many significant first-team appearances. I mean, the club took a gamble, but it's a gamble that, we're not against. Well, I'm not against anyways, because we have to take gambles, and not every one of these signings will work out. But France is not written off for me. Some people might be, but it's good to see him in the photos because, yeah, I do think he will have a good amount of contribution next season, especially behind Eze, fingers crossed, if everything stays there. What's going on, Palace fan? Do you think he'll make the US tour, Francois? Let's see. First of all, let's see what actually happens this Saturday in the Crawley game. Is he in the squad at all involved? If he's not, maybe he doesn't, or maybe he still travels with the squad to the US tour. I think it's the best case scenario for him to actually just be around the squad, unless he has another injury that we don't know about. Because there have been rumors about France's injury concerns and this and that. But for me, I think he should travel with the squad. I think he should work and be under the eyes of Oliver Glasner for as long as possible and just build together with the manager, understand the manager, let the manager understand the player. I've always said that, and that is why I do want signings before the window starts. So there is that bedding in period where the players can just feel comfortable at the football club. And Francois, I know it's like a cliche term, will feel like a new signing. He will feel like a new signing for us, because last year I wouldn't count it as his debut season because it was just too chaotic. It was too chaotic. I feel like things need to be taken a step back with Francois. The expectations are there because of the price tag, But yeah, so fingers crossed he does actually make the USA tour. Let's see if there's any other comments before we go through the questions. Mitch saying, I wonder what percentage of Ballon d'Or winners have had a clause in their contract. That's a very good question. I have no clue about that. Steve saying they will definitely have someone in mind, but what about Eboué or even a Hamada? I'll be honest with Malcolm, it's not looking great. It's not. He came on against Charlton, but I mean, he's kind of just dropped down the rankings in terms of having the opportunity to be selected. And it wouldn't shock me if he was to leave the club this summer, if there is any interest there. Hamada, remember Hamada last year? He was actually coming on and he didn't have great appearance off the bench. And there was this debate about, oh, he's not good enough, or, you know, are we rushing him? But I think Glasner rates Hamada. I think he does. So I think Hamada should be having more appearance off the bench. And he's a player that we don't even talk about, to be fair. Even when we talk about potential 10s or play options in midfield, just overall, we don't really include Hamada in the depth talk. So Hamada could be a surprise as well. He had a very good last preseason under Roy, but just like Raksaki and França, I think Hamada's had a season of lack of proper opportunities when he could have, because I mean we weren't performing greatly as a team, but he just didn't get opportunities, and he just needs to play consistently. And I think Glasner, based on what I saw last season, anyways, of him coming off the bench, etc., I think Glasner is trying to give him that consistent minutes so he can build up a bit of confidence. Because I think Ahmed has been lacking that. He's been lacking that. Remember, I mean, he was playing in the Bundesliga. It's not a player that's just come from another team's academy. He was playing, good first team football in Bundesliga, and he's come over to Palace, and he really hasn't had that many opportunities, in my opinion. He's had opportunities, but not consistent opportunities where he can build on his performances. And I think that has kind of cost Hamada, and that is what's made it a bit more of a struggle. So Hamada is one to look out for next season, as well as França, for me. Let's go through some of the questions, people. If you have any questions, put a Q and a dot behind it, and we will answer those. Let's start off with Mike saying, how many more new players do you think that will come to Palace in this window? I think one more. I hope it's a striker, and we do really need Nusa. I'm not sure. How many more do I think will come to Palace? So Sessegnon, technically, he's not announced, so I assume him to come to Palace. Sarr as well. I think we still need one more of an attacking option, whether that's Edwards or Smith Rowe. I'm not too sure, so that'll make it 3. Ideally, maybe some of you may clip this, but ideally, you sell Edward and bring in another striker. 4. I mean, at least, but to be, look, Sarr's going to be announced. Sessegnon should be announced as well. At least 3 to 4. And also with Sarr, just the thing with Sarr, we talk about him playing potentially right wing back. We don't know if Glasner sees him as a wing back option. But if he isn't a wing back option, we need to sign a wing back for depth reasons behind Munoz. If he is, then we're sorted there. But if he isn't, we need to play there. But I think, there's going to be more than, well, it depends on if you count Sessegnon as a signing already complete or Sarr as a signing already complete. But I think there'll be at least 3 other additions in this window. There should be anyways, especially with Elise going. And I think we will. I think we will deliver. We should deliver. Trundle saying, we'll probably run into Patrick at the Wolves match. What should I ask him? Maybe something about speculative transfers. Yeah, just talk to him about transfer news. He loves it. He loves the rumors. So if you just go up to Patrick and just ask him about his opinion on literally every single player that we've been linked with, I'm telling you, he'll give you a hug. He absolutely loves that. He literally talks about it on our WhatsApp chat every single day. He's the one that sends in all the rumors, and he loves it. He loves the speculation. He loves the speculation so much that he just can't contain his excitement. That's why he doesn't come on these Palace News episodes. So if you see Patrick, just talk to him about rumors. 100%, he'll love that. And tell him that he was the one that suggested that as a convo. Fraz saying, what's going on with Smith Rowe? Smith Rowe, the latest is that Arsenal apparently want to keep him. That's coming from Arsenal side of things. Well, not Arsenal. Arteta wants to keep him. He was the captain in the preseason friendly. I believe he's traveled over to America right now. He's in the USA tour, where Arsenal play at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning against Bournemouth. So he's over in America, but that is the latest. Since last week, Friday, I think it was, where we spoke about Smith Rowe and bids involved. That has gone a bit quiet. So I think Arsenal we just need to figure out what they really want to do with this player before anything, because that just seems confusing from there. Also, another question from Fry saying, what about Sessegnon? Is he going on tour with us? I'd be happy with Sarr and Sessegnon and Smith Rowe. He should be announced soon, Sessegnon. He should be announced soon. I don't know the wait for it. He's been on with us on trial for about a month now. He started preseason with us. So I would assume he should be going on tour. I would be shocked if we don't announce Sessegnon sooner rather than later. I would be happy with Sarr, Sessegnon, and Smith Rowe. Yeah, I'd be happy with those options as well. But a lot of people won't be happy with Smith Rowe. Gabriel saying, would you rather get Smith Rowe and Edwards or Smith Rowe and Sarr? I would rather get Smith Rowe and Edwards, but Sarr is joining us, so it's going to be who joins with Sarr. I think the question to ask it differently and for you to answer in chat as well, everyone, who would you rather get, Edwards or Emil Smith Rowe next to Sarr? What would you rather prefer? For me, might sound crazy, but I still prefer Smith Rowe. I still want Smith Rowe. There's just something in him that I know if he stays fit, which is a big if, but if we're signing Smith Rowe, we're doing the medicals, we're doing all the checks, and if he passes that and if he signs as a Crystal Palace player, I believe it's Smith Rowe. But Edwards, he's shown his potential as well. And before I even look at the chat, I'm going through some of these questions. I already know everyone's saying Edwards. I'd be surprised if some of you say Smith Rowe. I know Edwards is going to be the majority of the answer, but for me, I'd rather get Smith Rowe. But yeah. And by the way, just quickly before I bring up this question, even if we get Smith Rowe, we're talking about 35 to 40 million pounds, which we can argue that's a lot of money. But in terms of net spend, if we do get Smith Rowe, we're still most likely, depending on the fee, spending around 10 to 20 million pounds whilst bringing in Sessegnon, Smith Rowe, Kamada, Riyad, Sarr. 5 very good option players. And maybe that is why the club might be willing to spend what Arsenal are wanting for Smith Rowe. Maybe because, I mean, that's what we heard last week, Friday. Because of the Elise sale and Riyad and Sarr costing around 26 million pounds combined. I mean, if we did pay the figure that Arsenal wanted for Smith Rowe, still only spending 10 to 20 million pounds out of our pocket because, I mean, the Elise money goes towards that as well. So I'm not totally against it. 10 to 20 million pounds spend whilst bringing in all those players. It's quality business, incredible business. It's not spending money for money's sake. We just want to improve the squad and improve the depth. And I think Smith Rowe adds to that. So maybe the club might be willing to spend because of when you look at the finances, it's actually not a bad bit of business. We should have money to spend. Unfortunately, saying D, where will Kamada play? If we were to sign Smith Rowe, because we all know that Smith Rowe will want guaranteed game time. I don't think anyone is really, I mean, as fans, we can say that they have guaranteed game time based on their ability or so. And you know, we watch them week in, week out. But I don't think Glasner set the precedent as, you know, everyone, you know, these 11 players will have guaranteed game time. I don't think that's the case. I think you have to kind of earn your spot. Of course, we know which players are more likely to be playing. But that's what, when we initially were linked with Smith Rowe, when Fulham were involved in a conversation, which it seems like they pulled out of the race, that's what my concerns were with Smith Rowe. Can we offer him that game time that he might want? Because he's leaving Arsenal to come to Palace. And of course, he's coming to play a bit more game time. But if they can find an agreement on that to say Smith Rowe will be pushing Kamada, then it's not the worst case scenario, to be fair, having Smith Rowe. If he you know agrees to fighting for a spot, which I think he will. Well, if he's joining Palace, he has to. Brad saying if Jez goes out on loan, and just quickly to answer your question, he's not going to. Kamada for me is not going to be playing central midfield. I think that's the Corey and Walton. He'll be playing as a number 10. I wouldn't look at the Charlton game too much. Brad saying if Jez goes out on loan, will they give Malcolm Ebue a go? I'd like to see more of him. For me, that really doesn't make any sense. Why would we send Jez out on loan, who we know is a better player, and give Malcolm Ebue a go? Jez is more ready than Ebue. If Jez is going out on loan, then Ebue most likely won't get a go unless something drastically happens. He should be, the way he's going to have a go is maybe if he's going out on loan. But I don't see Malcolm Ebue starting or coming off the bench for Palace if Jez can't make it. And if I was Jez and let's say He did go out on loan. By the way, there's no other updates. The latest was that Southampton were willing to put in a higher bid and that potentially Jez's head might be turned by the offer. There's nothing else today about that. But yeah, I'll be upset if I was Jez. I'll be like, what's going on? Like, I'm in the championship and Ibiwe, who's barely had any chance, is playing ahead of me. So I don't think that would be the case. Jack saying, surely Glasner would get tune out of Jez considering he's got to tune out so many players who won't go under Roy. We should keep him right. Well, does Glasner rate Jez as much as we do? There is that as well. Because of course, Glasner has a say on whether Jez goes out on loan or not. He's a first-team player. So maybe that is the point in the first place, that Glasner thinks that he needs a bit more time to develop. Because that's the only explanation. Right now, if we're looking at where Jez plays, as I've said a few times now, Jez plays in a position that we're looking to strengthen. And he's an academy player. I think it's a perfect opportunity for Jez to be behind Kamada. I think that's great. But if Glasner thinks that he's not ready enough and you prefer someone else over him, then that is why we might be sending him out on loan. So, yes, I do agree that Glasner is the man to develop Jez, as you said, Jack, based on what he's done with other players. But maybe Glasner thinks it's a bit too early for him. So that could be the case. I mean, it's a bit of a complicated situation. What do you think about 12 million from Southampton for Rak-Saki? I think it's still too low. I reckon 15 to 20 million pound, which ain't far off that figure. Palace may get a bit more serious in the conversations about selling him, which I don't know if we should be selling Rak-Saki. In honesty, it doesn't really show a great look to sell him to another Premier League club. In terms of giving pathway to academy players, I know Twisted, especially if he's here today, he will disagree with me. Gurav saying we should go all in for Jonathan Rowe. I mean, he's not been really linked to us, so I don't think that's going to be happening. In terms of Edwards and Smith Rowe, AJ saying Edwards, Gurav saying Edwards, Smith Rowe over Edwards for me, Smith Rowe over Edwards as well. I'm surprised. It seems like some of you lot have changed your tune. The other day, it was like, do not sign Smith Rowe by any means. He's too much injury prone, but it seems like more people are on Smith Rowe's side all of a sudden. So I'm actually surprised about that. You can get a lot for 35 million rather than Arsenal cast off, says Mukhtar. And Alex saying there's better players for 35 to 40 million pound. Some reports suggesting that Oba is linked with Palace. Your thoughts? I haven't seen those reports, and I'll be honest, that's not going to happen, is it? Because of wages and age and stuff. It just doesn't make that much sense for us. Mukhtar saying the problem with Palace is they value experience over youth. It might be even, I don't know if we value experience over youth. I don't know. I think we have to figure out a pathway for these academy players. I do think we do. Especially when there's other Premier League clubs being interested in our players, and it's like it raises questions about the pathway for some of these players. By the way, I don't think every academy player is going to make it. Just because you play good in academy, it doesn't mean that you're going to be good first team footballer for Premier League level. That's not always the case. Academy football and first team football is different. But with Rak-Saki, that's been a player for the last 2 years or so. In fact, I remember when Vieira first came to the club that season, that I would have liked him as an option, as a squad option off the bench behind Elise. And I think he is a player that is ready to offer something at Premier League level, Rak-Saki. So based on that, the Rak-Saki situation makes it a bit more complicated. And it kind of backs up your point, I guess, that maybe they do value experience over youth. But for me, it just doesn't really make any sense because, I mean, Rak-Saki could be that squad player, but I don't know. If Glasner doesn't like him, then what can we say? Or thinks he needs more experience anyways. Edwards and Bosch and Smith Rowe, Prem-proof. I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised. This is like a lot more tighter than normal conversation when we talk about Smith Rowe and also Edwards. I thought Edwards would be the clear winner because I always felt like I was in the minority in terms of wanting Smith Rowe, but it seems like a lot more people now want Smith Rowe. So interesting. Let's see if there's any other comments. If not, we're going to wrap it up, people. If you just joined us now, if you're watching this on replay, your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please leave a like and subscribe as we're reaching 5,000 subscribers if you do enjoy the content. Here we go. Sule is going to Roma for 26 million, fixed fee, 2 million, easy add-ons, 2 million, difficult add-ons. I don't know where, unfortunately, seen that, but it would not surprise me at all because that has been his preferred move. So, and Roma have been after him as well for a while. So Sule is, as I mentioned, the players off the radar. Nusa is looking unlikely. Sule's seems like he's going to Roma. Villagin's gone to Villa. We're not left with that many options. We're not, and we have to get someone else. And the only realistic options I'm seeing right now, based on the names that's been mentioned, is Edwards and Smith Rowe. Apart from them two, there isn't that many people. Yeah, Fabrizio Romano tweeted it. So yeah, he's going over to Roma. So only 2 players left as a potential Elisa replacements. Let's see. I'm actually looking forward to this Saturday. By the way, we will be doing a live match reaction. So make sure to check that out. We'll be having the usual boys on to talk about the game after the Crawley one. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. And tomorrow we'll most likely be back. Hopefully Sarr deal gets completed sooner rather than later. But that's it for today, people. If you have enjoyed it, like and subscribe. Your thoughts in the comment section down below as normal. Thank you to every single one of you that's watched this. Keep safe, and until next time, up the Palace.